So let's talk about Toys R Us and Mario and the 90s. So I've been playing video games as long as I can remember, and I will say that I think the biggest graphical hop that I can remember, and this is for someone who played on PC and played on every console that you could get his hands on, Game Boys. I remember the Virtual Boy. Remember playing it at a Blockbuster. And I think that the biggest thing was moving to the N64. Huge deal for me and all my friends. We hadn't seen anything like it. And my introduction to that was going into a Toys R Us when I was visiting my grandmother. When we were kids, me and my brother used to go to our grandmother's and stay overnight. Probably looking back just to give my parents a day off from trying to tolerate the two of us. And so maybe some of you remember these. I haven't been in one in a long time. But Toys R Us, there was a Toys R Us around the corner from Grandma's house. And upon my research, my quick precursory research, I looked up when this came out. And Mario 64 came out in 1996. So I'm dating myself. I was 10 years old. And it was a big deal. So in 1996, after I'm sure we had harassed our grandmother to get us out of the house and go to play at Toys R Us, I was walking around and just happened to back into one of these things. I'm doing this a lot these days, because it's cool to throw pictures up here. One of these things, if you remember these things, I think they still have them. They're a lot fancier now at GameStop, but those display cases where they had a Nintendo stuck in there and you could play pre-release as they were getting ready to sell these games, an N64, and I and my brother were blown away. It was the coolest thing to see little 3D Mario and talking to us and doing backflips and running up walls and long jumping, backflipping. Super cool. We kept going to Grandma's house and harassing Grandma to take us back up to Toys R Us so we could continue to demo this Mario game. Also, in my precursory research, I think precursory is a word. In my looking up in front of this, I just found out that I seem to remember hearing something about this, but Toys R Us is currently out of business. So that didn't age. But Toys R Us and Nintendo 64 display cases, and growing up at 10 years old, this was part of my childhood and was a big deal because my parents had told us that they were done buying video game stuff. And so if we wanted a Nintendo, which we did, it was on us to save the money, which I think at the time, let me look up real quick how much this was at release. Okay, so at release, a whopping $200. And I remember it came with two controllers. Maybe it was two controllers. One controller or two controllers and Mario 64. And we decided that, yeah, cool, we would save up for it. So lots of yard cutting, lots of extra laundry, lots of chores, and helping out to do everything we were asked. So we could pick up $5 here, $10 here, and $200 to a 10-year-old was, at the time, seemed like an insurmountable amount of money, but we got it. And home came the N64. Or when you turn it on and Mario comes flying up at you, that stupid 3D face that still, frankly, is aged fairly well. And you start the game and you go right to the file select screen. And I can absolutely still hear that music in my head all the time. So it was a big deal for me to, when I started doing all this, I really wanted to do a cover of file select. And I'll talk about the cover for a second. That melody, that 8 or however many bar melody it is, seriously stuck in my head all the time when I was a kid. That's all I really remember musically from that game. Maybe the Bowser Road, maybe the Dire Dire Docks music. That's the greatest new age track in a video game. But File Select was absolutely just It was the first thing that hit you, and you had to hear it every time you started the game up, no matter how many 120 star files you had to hear the music. So when I was doing the cover, I wanted to take the melody and combine it with this idea that I had been doing for band practice and with some other bands that I'd picked up in music school. And what it would do is, say we had a group of people around and we were all jamming and playing a song, somebody would at random give notification of a style switch, like we were selecting a different type of game. We'd be playing something like, I don't know, let's say we were playing a Green Day song and someone would say country. And in 4 bars, we had to switch to country and play the same song. And someone would say punk and we had to switch back. Or someone would say jazz and we'd swing it and add chord extensions. And it was a great exercise. So I took that idea and this infectious melody and I wanted to do, let's see, we started acoustic singer-songwriting folk, move into kind of an 80s soft rock feel, then into a reharmonized jazz feel, and then come out of that into full-blown straight-up rock. And I love how this turned out. And I'm really glad that with technology now and being able to do this stuff, I had a chance to work up a really, I think, unique and cool way to share that melody. And also to convey that even as a 10-year-old, if you set your goals and work hard and save your dough, you can accomplish the little things which lead up to big things. So that was a lesson to learn when you're young and your parents say, no, if you want it, you work for it and you save for it. And I think that's a good lesson for people to learn. So that's how I got a 64. That's why I love Mario. And that's why I chose File Select to do an arrangement for. Please subscribe. Thanks for hanging out. Ring the bell so you know when new songs come out, new chats come out, new stories. And comment. Tell me what it was like the first time you played Mario 64, or if you're not old enough to have played Mario 64. If you're liking these, comment. If you hate these, don't. Thanks for listening. This has been a cool exercise for me to start trying to share these things and try to convey cool stories. Special thanks to Alan over at Game Groups, who liked my Rainbow Road cover enough to interview me and ask me some questions. And I'm happy to be featured on the platform. And go give them a follow on Twitter. Read up all the articles on their site. They've got great, cool information about other cover artists. They've got really cool articles for helping you maybe get started, learning how to license your music if you want to do covers and other things. Wealth of information over there. Thanks again for having me. See you next time.